Here's a tutorial on Ode to Joy. This is from the Accelerated Piano Adventures, Book 1. So, classic piece by Beethoven, and we have a longer 2-page piece, which is awesome. So, a few things I want to go over before we get started. So with any longer piece, I always like to start off with finding similar melodies or similar rhythmic patterns within the piece. So if we're checking out the opening, I'm gonna see if I can find that same melody elsewhere in the piece. So if we're looking at measure 5, notice that these first 3 measures are the same, except these endings of the phrases, musical sentences, they're slightly different with these 2 measures. So I'm just gonna keep that in my mind, like, okay, those 3, they totally match together. And then also looking at the bottom, measure 13, that also looks very similar to that opening, and measure 5, 6, 7. So these 2 lines in particular with their endings, these both will match. So they should sound the same. On to page 2, the melody what was once in the left hand initially switches over to the right hand part. And I am also seeing a similar pattern with the E's starting, E, 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 E. And it looks like it's kind of following the same contour, just reading treble clef. So these 2 are matching. Also these 2 are matching, D, C, C, D, C, C. And then for measure 9, with the 8th notes in there, this is actually the exact same note for note. Rhythm is the same. These 2 lines match. And then here at the end, they're just aligning the both hands together, similar to this melody here, which also matches these melodies, or this one. So anyway, I will play through so you can really hear those matching lines, matching melodies. So here we go. So as you could hear, I was adding in a little bit of these dynamics. So piano growing louder, or in music we call that crescendo at measure 10. Similarly, 25 and 26 has that same piano crescendo. Mezzo forte at the beginning, meaning medium loud, and then forte loud. So if you can factor those in at the beginning when you're first learning the piece, any piece for that matter, that would be ideal. But if not, you can just focus on the notes and the rhythm, and then shortly after, try adding in the dynamic contrasts. Okay, so a lot of stepwise motion, a lot of repeated notes. So sometimes I do recommend to students to circle skips, or, you know, doing a rectangle or some kind of highlighted line connecting two of the same notes, repeated notes, so that you can really see that clearly. So for example, doing a line across here for the EE or DD, whatever helps you in your practice. Measure 9, this is when the skips start coming up. So line to line, that is a skip, etc. So any notations you can write in to help you practice, the better, and the more efficient practice you'll have. And even highlighting, like in colors, right? So mezzo forte, maybe highlighting that in orange. Piano, maybe a light blue. Forte, maybe red, a dark red. I find that often helps a lot of people. So this topic of phrases basically means when we see this kind of long slur line connecting from one note to the other note. So that's indicating that's a musical sentence or musical idea. Kind of similar to like if I were to ask you, how are you doing today? That would be a phrase. And then you respond with, my day is great so far. That would be another phrase. So we also have these conversations in music as well, which is super cool. Okay, so I do want to cover a rhythmic change, specifically at the third line where measure 9 is. So this is where that subdividing really comes in handy. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So notice that these eighth notes are always occurring on beat 2, 2 and. So I would just isolate that by itself and practice that with counting 1 and 2 and with the subdividing. And then when you feel comfortable, try adding in the dynamics. So piano, light touch. Getting a little stronger. And also keeping in mind at the end of these musical phrases, we typically don't really want to hear an accented sound at the end of these. So like, for example, if I played measure 9 again to 12. Like a whack on that end of the phrase. So it's just kind of tapered off, right? Same thing with the beginning or any of these phrases. So we don't want to do something abrupt like that. I am going to mention that typically when students try this piece, I think we're really used to hearing so I kind of switched the rhythm up a little bit. Long, short, hold. If you really want to add that, you can, but I would stick to what's on the page initially, just to make sure we're getting the rhythm consistent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then maybe later you can be like, well, I kind of like that ending a little bit more. Okay, moving on to where there's accompaniment type of stuff. So at 17. Holding our left hand tie, and And then this is where we have a harmony. So lining up your 3, and then they're just gonna go up and same notes together. Similarly, this is happening also at 21 with our tie. Here's that 3 in the bass, going up together, down. So they're following the contour together. So stepping up together, stepping down together, doing repeated notes together. And then lastly, at the last line, measure 29, matching in notes, hold for the full value, 2, 3. So all of these lines, either left hand or right hand, they're gonna be as legato as possible. So connecting, smoothing out these notes one by one as much as you can.